Hello everyone and welcome to GIS. Today in this video you will learn what is GIS, invention and history of GIS, component of GIS and some of the applications of GIS. Many people on this planet is eager to gain more knowledge and understand our planet. The complex natural system bound by the planet Earth continues to amaze humans, and many humans with inquisitive instinct have desired to learn about this complex system. GIS is one of the powerful tools to help us to understand our complex world. GIS consists of two distinct disciplines, that is geography and information system. Geography is a scientific study of geospatial pattern and processes. Now let's understand what is geospatial pattern and processes. Geospatial pattern and processes basically means a study of any particular location on the Earth's surface. Now let's say in order to study particular location on the Earth's surface, we need to find out the coordinate, that is the latitude and longitude of a particular location. So basically geography identifies the location and the distribution of human and physical phenomena on the Earth's surface. Now let's understand information system. So here is a chart for the information system. So at first, let us understand the right hand side of the chart. Information system basically is a combination of people, hardware and software, and communication devices. We'll come to people afterwards. So at first, let us understand hardware and software. Hardware is the thing which can be touched or seen. Software cannot be touched. It is basically inside the hardware. So let's take an example of a phone which is hardware and the Android is the software which is inside the phone. Third is communication devices. Communication devices is used basically for communication. As for example, phone is used to communicate with friends, family members or any people. And lastly comes the peoples. People are basically who maintains and use the hardware and software. And then the hardware and software are used to send or receive information. Now let's understand the left hand side chart. In this, we'll elaborate hardware and software. The work of hardware and software is to contain electronic records. For example, let's say a memory card is used as a storage device and the music or the data stored in it is the electronic records. Similarly, in GIS, we used to store the geospatial data, that is the location and distribution of human and physical phenomena on the Earth's surface in the hardware and softwares. The work of electronic device is used to store the source file, that is the geospatial data, as the input. But the data is not processed, that is not arranged properly. As for example, when we download any files. Once the data is input, we record the electronic data, that is, process the data. As I have told you earlier that we receive the data in unprocessed form. So now when we input the geospatial data, we basically arrange the data properly, that is in the tabular form. After processing the data, we generate the output of that data. The output data will be in the processed form, that is arranged properly in the tabular form. If the user wants to read the data can be properly read. Also, the changes can be done if required. After all the three processes are done, we do documentation and indexing. For example, the data of Lucknow, which is stored in processed form. Now, let's take a new data of Delhi which is not processed. In order to process the data of Delhi, we need to check the processed data of Lucknow. So for that, we need to go through the documentation created for it. Basically, we check the files where all the procedures are defined. That is, the process of inputting data, storing data, etc. In this way, we can process the data of Delhi. Now, after processing and documentation is done, we come to indexing. In indexing, take for example a book. A book contains index. Index basically tells about the page number of the content that we are searching for. Similar is the case of data. The data may contain multiple tables and multiple outputs of data. So with the help of index, we can find the particular table that we are searching for. Now let's talk about the standard definition of GIS. GIS means Geographical Information System. A geographical information system which works on spatial database is a computer system for capturing, storing, querying, analyzing and displaying geospatial data. Spatial database basically is the raster data, that is the point line polygon exist on the earth. Every day millions of decisions are powered by GIS. For example, retailers use GIS to pinpoint the best location of the new store or stock items that the local customer needs. Another example of GIS is used in the schools as it helps to make sure that there is right number of school for the children in wide locations. In short, GIS allows us to make better decisions using geography. Complex analysis becomes simple and decision becomes clear. Now next comes the invention and history of GIS. The GIS system was made by the Federal Department of Forestry and Rural Development of Canada government. The great inventor of GIS is Roger Tomlinson. He is also known as the father of GIS. Now on the right hand side you can see a map representing cholera across 48 districts of Paris. This map was created in 1832. Now next is the map of London depicting cholera death using point on maps. The year 1969 was significant in the history of GIS because two major software companies, ISRI Environmental Research Institute and Intergraph Corporation was founded in USA. Jack and Lara Dangermond was the founder of ISRI. James Madlock was the founder of Intergraph. Now next comes the key component of GIS. There are 5 key components: hardware, software, data, people, and methods. First is hardware. Hardware is a computer system on which GIS operates. It consists of equipment and support devices that are equipped to capture, store, process, visualize the geographic information. As for example, digitizer, scanner, GPS receiver are the examples of input devices. Magnetic tape, disk, CD-ROMs, CPU are the example of storage devices. Printer, plotter, display screens are the examples of output devices. Second comes the software. The GIS software provides the function and tools needed to store, analyze, and display geographic information. Some of the common GIS softwares are ArcGIS, ArcView, MapInfo, Geometrica, Autodesk Map. Some of this GIS software work on desktop computer. Some can work on network service based on environment and some has both capability. Third is data. The data is captured or collected from various sources such as map, field observation, photography, satellite imagery, etc., and is processed for analysis and presentation. Fourth is people. The component of GIS includes all those individuals such as programmer, database managers, GIS researcher, etc., who are making the GIS work, and also the individuals who are at the user end and using the GIS service, applications, and tools. Fifth is methods. It requires the collection of spatial data, analysis methods, and then use the result for planning and implementations. Each organization operates GIS in well-designed plan and business rules. Now last is applications of GIS. Major areas of applications of GIS can be grouped into 5 categories. First is facilities management. Large-scale and precious maps are used for utility management like telecom and network services. Automated map or facility management are frequently used in this area. Second is environmental and natural resource management. Aerial photographs, satellite image are used for natural and environmental impact analysis. It is also used for detection of coal mines, wetlands mapping, etc. Third is street network. Large and medium scale maps are used for vehicle routing, transportation planning, locating house and street, etc. Fourth is planning and engineering. Large and medium scale maps and engineering models are used mainly in civil engineering like drainage system, pipeline routing selection, river crossing site selection for bridges, etc. The last and the fifth application is land information system. Large-scale cadastral maps or land partial maps and spatial analysis are used for digital taxation, disaster management and mitigation, land disaster zone, determining land use and land cover changes, etc. So that's all. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned. Hello everyone and welcome to GIS. Today in this video you will learn what is data in GIS, types of data, spatial data, vector data, raster data. Also you will learn the representation of vector and raster data. And lastly you will learn non-spatial data. So at first let us understand what is data in GIS. Data is one of the most important component in GIS, where we can say 80% of the task is going to be completed if we collect the data properties. So you need to understand which type of data is used in GIS and which type of data is needed to be collected. Data is basically a collection of facts and figures about an object in the phenomena. Let's say for example collection of latitude and longitude of your house. It is often most expensive component in GIS. So here is the chart of types of data. Data is mainly divided into two parts, spatial data and non-spatial data. Spatial data is further divided into two subparts, that is vector and raster data. Now let us understand what is spatial data. Spatial data is usually stored as coordinates and topology and is the data that can be mapped. Data that defines the location of geographic feature. Say for example, a geographic feature may be any features such as mountain. Now if we define the latitude and longitude of the mountain, it is known as spatial data. Spatial data is the physical representation of the Earth's feature. It represents the location, size, and shape of the object in the earth, that is, building, pond, mountain, administration and boundaries, roads, river, etc. As you know that every element is spatial in nature, so we can describe any element of the world in two ways. First is locational information. In this we'll find the coordinate, that is the latitude and longitudinal address of the tree. Basically, we'll find where the tree is located. And the second way to describe any element of our world is the attributable information, that is the species, height, age of the tree. The attributable information is in the tabular form in GIS. There are two primary ways that the spatial data is modeled. First is raster and the second is vector. A vector system usually stores data as coordinates. For example, each uniform area is surrounded by a set of straight line segments called vector. A vector-based GIS defines the vectoral representation of its geographic data. The three main geometric shapes used in vector data model to represent the real-world feature are point, line, and polygon. So let's understand the first type of feature, that is point. Point is zero-dimensional object that contains only single xy coordinate pairs. Points are typically used to model singular or discrete features such as small buildings, well, power poles, temples, trees, etc. Points have only the properties of locations. The second feature is lines. Lines are one-dimensional feature comprises of multiple connected points. Lines are used to represent linear features such as road, streams, street central lines, etc. Lines have the property of length. A line is synonymous with an arc. The third feature is polygon. Polygons are two-dimensional features created by multiple lines which create a closed polygon. Polygons are used to represent features such as lake, huge buildings, vegetation communities, etc. Polygons have the properties of area and perimeter. Polygons are also known as area. The second type of data is raster data. Raster data is made up of matrix of pixels or cells, and each pixels have an associated value. A value given to each cell which informs the users which entities is present in which cell. For example, the value may represent elevation above the sea level, rivers, etc. Example of raster data set is digital aerial photograph, satellite image, digital pictures, that is the picture taken on camera or cell phone. All raster images are made up of thousands or millions of individual picture elements or pixels. When we zoom into the digital image, you begin to see each of the individual pixels that make up the image. In case of aerial or satellite imagery, Each of these pixels contain number that represents the amount of light at a particular wavelength that was recorded by the camera and is now being displayed by the computer monitor. First type of feature is point. A point in vector data is represented by a single dot, whereas in raster data it is represented by a single cell. The example of points are trees, temples, etc. The second type of feature is line. A line in vector data is represented by a set of points that make up a straight line or a curve depending upon the feature it represents. Whereas in raster data it is represented by a sequence of cells or grids. The example of lines are rivers, street central lines, etc. Third is polygon. A polygon in vector data is represented by a set of lines which creates a closed figure, whereas in raster data it is represented by a zone of cells. The example of polygon may be lakes, large city, islands, etc. Now the last type of data, that is non-spatial data. Non-spatial data is also known as attribute or characteristics data. Non-spatial data are stored in GIS as tables. Such tables are known as non-spatial or attribute tables. Non-spatial tables are represented by rows and columns in which each row shows a spatial feature and each column represents a characteristics. The intersection of rows and columns gives the value of specific characteristics for a particular feature, as you can see in the table. A row is known as records and a column is known as fields or items. So that's all. I hope you liked the video. Stay tuned.